All right, we're back here on the Gill Connections Podcast. Again, so grateful that you would press play today. I'm pumped. I got a guy here today that, a little long in the tooth. And what I mean by that, he's got a lot of experience. And I love those because there's a lot to learn from that. So I am going to hop right into it because I want to get to know more about today's guest. So help me welcome the head coach from Bucknell University, the wise, the wonderful Mr. Kevin Donner. Kevin, what's up, man? Welcome to the show.
Hey, doing good, Mike. Thanks for inviting me, and we can't wait.
Absolutely, man. I always, so one of my little nerddoms is mascots of colleges. And Bucknell is one that I cannot think of off the top of my head, but I feel like it's not something stereotypical like a deer, like a buck or something like that. I want to feel like it's like something like I don't know. I feel like you're up in that area, something Quaker-ish, like up in the Northeast. What is it? I can't even take a guess here.
It's the bison.
It's the bison. Okay, are there a lot of
Right.
bison up in that area?
There's none.
Okay.
I guess there was a long, long time ago,
Okay. And is that
and
how
that's how they got the name. But
nice?
they're extinct right now, and at least in this area.
So is it the Bucknell bison? Because plural bison, I think, is bison.
Bison. There is no S.
Okay. I love that because my favorite trivia question in the world is name the college mascots that don't end in S, because most of them do,
Yeah,
right? Penn
yeah,
State Nittany Lions, the Patriots, all that kind of stuff. I don't think I've ever included Bucknell in my answer. I will now. I love that.
it's the bison. Yep, there is no plural S in the word bison. What's
Love that.
funny is there's a local high school in Pennsylvania that does go by bisons, and there is no such thing as bisons.
I was about to say, is that like somebody
Uh,
going by the fishes? Like that doesn't
I don't
exist.
know, but
Yeah.
there's no S in the plural of bison.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, so help me with that trivia question, Kevin. Let's play the game with you. Can you name three schools where the mascot, and you can't say Bucknell because we know now that's one of them. Three other schools where the mascot doesn't end in S.
Oh boy, I know Stanford Cardinals,
Cardinal, very good.
one
Nice.
of them.
Cardinal. Yep.
Let's see. I used to know this years ago. The Thundering Herd of Marshall.
Nice. Very good. Most people miss that one. I love that. Nice.
Yep, yep. Let me think of another one here. Let's see. Um, boy, I'm not think it's not coming to me. I know
I'll,
those two
I'll
up
give you
front.
a hint. Do you know where we're located, where Gill is located?
Not really.
Okay, we're in Champaign, Illinois. Do you know what university is
Champaign,
in
Fighting
Champaign?
Illini.
Fighting Illini,
There
baby.
you
That's it.
go.
Yeah.
Okay. What are
Other,
some others?
yeah, other popular ones, University of Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish.
Fighting Irish.
Yeah.
Okay.
University of Alabama, Crimson Tide.
And Tide. Yeah.
Down in two more I'll give you. Down in New Orleans, we've got the Tulane Green Wave.
Green Wave. You're
Yeah.
right.
I'll give
Yeah.
you an extra one actually because you're up in the Northeast, St. John, the Red Storm.
Okay.
But then also one of my favorites because it's ridiculous is the Tulsa Golden Hurricane, which
Okay.
is ridiculous because there's no hurricane ever in Tulsa,
Golden
Oklahoma.
Hurricane.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It should be the Golden Tornado. I don't know why.
Sure.
I got to learn
I
that
know.
one
I
day.
know another one. St. Francis Red Flash. I used
Nice.
to coach there.
Yes. Nice, nice,
Yep.
nice. See, that's the other reason I like giving that trivia question out because I learned more. I was like, oh, yeah, didn't
There
know
you
St.
go.
Francis. All right, Kevin. I love that. Thanks for entertaining me there. I do appreciate that very, very much. Uh, let's get into our Wayback Machine and learn more about you, my friend. Assuming you're an athlete, and we have certainly know what assuming does to us,
Yeah.
where in the world does track and field start for you?
Well, what's funny is I was always baseball, football, basketball growing up. I played all the sports. Then I went to a private all boys Catholic school in Detroit that is a powerhouse in sports. And I was on the freshman football team, tried out for freshman basketball. I got cut. And then I was on the freshman baseball team. And then as a sophomore, I was on the JV football team. Didn't bother going out for basketball. And then baseball, I got cut from the JV baseball team, and I decided to go out for the track team as a 10th grader. And the reason is for conditioning and football practice, we used to run a mile
Cool.
every Monday with full pads.
Oh,
And I always was up top. Me and another guy named William Sepla, we
mhm.
were wide receivers, and we always beat all the fat linemen in the mile with full pads. That was JV football every Monday. We did that.
Dude.
Yeah, and this coach made everyone do it. The big lineman had to do it. Everybody had to do this
Oh,
mile run every Monday. And me and Bill Sepla were always up front, and a guy named Doug Larson, we would get out there. And so after I got cut from JV baseball, I decided, well, I always win the mile in the for football practice. Well, maybe I'll be a miler. So I went out for the track team, and the coach took me, a guy named Tony Magny. And, I didn't realize, I thought you'd run a mile every day, or, some sort of speed work. Thought you ran a mile.
right.
And, the first day he told us to run, 6 miles, and he gave me a break and said, you can run 4 because it's your first day. And it was just an out and back. I'm like, holy crap, this is tough. And, but, that's how I got started in track. And then at the end of the season, I was not good enough to make the championship meets. And we had a big, big team. So what they did is it pretty much shut down the non-championship people.
Hmm.
And so Coach Magny, who's still a great mentor of mine to this day, he's still coaching in his 60th year. He,
Nice.
uh, he gives me this packet of workouts for cross country and
Hmm.
says, here you go, Donner. We'll see you in the fall for cross country.
Right.
And I said, Coach, I don't run cross country. I play football.
Right.
I was in the 11th grade, is varsity now. And he made the comment back and said, Donner, you don't play football. You're on the football roster. I've been to the games, and I just don't see you playing that much. And I thought to myself, God, he's kind of right. I just get in like the last two or 3 minutes when, the game's already out of hand
Right.
one way or another. And so I go talk to my dad. I said, Dad, Coach Magny wants me to go out for cross country. And my dad said, yeah, maybe you should, Kevin. I'm kind of tired of going to the games and watching all the other kids play.
Oh,
And so I decided to go out for cross country as a grade 11. And
all
the
right. So,
rest is history.
so pause there. I love that's fascinating and very not uncommon in the sense of like other sports because we watch a lot. You maybe watched football and baseball and basketball growing up on TV. Maybe there's
Oh,
not a lot of
yeah.
there's not a lot of track TV on TV today. There wasn't back then either. When you got cut that sophomore year from baseball and you decided to go to track. Now, obviously, your level of knowledge of track is really low because you're like, I thought I
Correct.
just run a
I knew
mile a
nothing.
day. Yeah, you knew
I knew
nothing.
nothing.
Did you know about track though? Like, did you know, oh, there's going to be sprinters, there's going to be some throwers? Like, did you understand that, or did you just think it was all, I don't
I
know?
knew there was a team. I had friends that were on the team,
Mm-hmm.
and I knew there were different events. And I still used to watch the Olympics when I was
Mm-hmm.
that age, and I used to like to watch track and field.
Yeah.
But I didn't know how they trained.
Right.
I didn't know exactly what they did.
Yeah.
And so
You were happy that you didn't have to wear your pads and helmet to run though.
correct,
So that's
correct.
nice. That was an added benefit. That
And
was
I
a
did like the guys on the team, and I liked the much more laid back coaching part,
hmm.
because our football coaches got pretty intense
Yeah.
every
Well,
day. And
the
at
Monday
track and
mile tells me
field
that.
practice, they weren't like that.
Uh,
And so
Now,
I enjoyed that.
what's interesting to me though is I love coaches' statement. Sometimes there's a little, some people call it tough love. Some people call it introducing reality to the world of like, hey, Donna, you're on the football team. You don't play football. But you said you didn't even make the championship squad your sophomore year. So it's not like I would have suspected like, oh man, Kevin came out and killed
But
it. And so coach is like, you
yeah,
need to
but
press.
I did go to meets. We had all
Right.
the dual meets, and
Right.
he took me to there's a freshman sophomore meet, and
Yeah.
kind of a JV
But
city championship, something like that. So I participated as a sophomore
right.
in maybe 8 or 9
Yeah.
meets.
Well, what I love about it is it's easy for if you'd have come out and run 420, it's easy for us to identify like, wow, this kid should be running
Oh,
cross.
that didn't happen.
Right, right. But
Yeah,
to me, the superpower of a coach is they see something in other people before they can see it in themselves. Coach saw something in you. It's like, hey, man, you might enjoy football, but you're a distance guy. You need to be on the cross
sure.
country this fall. So, okay, it begs the question. You get this, and that's all great, and we know the power of football and the pull of it and everything like that. Did you do the summer workouts, and how did the fall come around?
I didn't do the exact summer workouts. I wasn't 100% committed
Sure.
because there was still part of me that was thinking about going back to football.
Right.
Um, so it took, probably all of July before I decided that cross country was going to happen.
Okay.
So I was still kind of training for football.
Hmm.
And it was between my sophomore and my junior year of high school. And like I said, I wasn't 100% committed to going out for cross country. And then, Coach Magny used to have some non-mandatory days at certain parks in the area where, the guys could meet for a run just so that, he could legally, coach. He couldn't
Right.
have formal practice. So, they were non-mandatory meetings. And I started going in, about mid-July. And that's when I made the decision that I
What
was going to go out for cross country,
what was it?
not be on the football team.
What was it that helped make that switch for you?
Just the guys on the team, they were friendly.
Yeah.
Coach Magny was friendly. I realized that, I was going from JV to varsity. I wasn't really playing JV. So what makes me think I'm going to play varsity now?
Right.
So
Right.
I just decided, and I was enjoying the running part, even though it was tougher because I just started running, but I really enjoyed the guys on the team, and I decided to formally make the decision in July. And then he had this camp in Canada at the Pioneer Provincial Park, which is about 2 hours from Detroit, where the high school is located. And he invited me to this camp, and it was 2 weeks in tents south of Lake Erie. And boy, that was a blast. We ran a lot. But back in the 70s, mileage was high at the high school
Is
level.
that right? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, at least with our program.
Yeah.
And but it was a blast. I loved it so much.
Did you have a conversation with the football coach that, hey, I'm going to switch sports?
Yeah, I did, and he accepted. I mean, it was no loss for him, trust me. And what the hardest part was, they had their football camp, and I went to it as a JV, also around in Canada, about 2 hours from Detroit, and it was
Oh,
only maybe 20 miles from where the Detroit
wow.
Catholic Central Cross Country Camp was. And so we actually did a 20-mile run the last day of camp to this town. And we, met the coaches and the football coaches. And, they were very cordial and
Good.
nice.
Good.
They recognize it. I mean, I'm sure it happens all the time.
Yeah,
But
that's
trust me,
great.
they weren't going to miss me in football. Trust me.
Yeah,
So
sometimes
they were happy for me. And then
sometimes
I still am in touch with the head coach who
oh.
retired, the head football coach, very successful football coach, won multiple state titles, including my senior year. That might have
Oh.
been my biggest regret was the guys I played football with won a state title. I would have been on that team, but probably not playing much,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
but I would have been on that team. But
Did you
you
say
know
you're
what? When I
still
made the decision to do track and field and cross country, obviously that's what got me to where I'm at now.
yeah,
If
right,
I was stuck
exactly.
with football, there's no
Yeah.
way I'd be a track and cross country coach.
Did you say you knew the football coach all the way through? Like
Oh
still
yeah, yeah.
did he keep the Mile Monday tradition?
Well, that was the JV coach.
Oh, okay, okay.
So I don't think the varsity coach, I don't
Okay,
think
all right.
he did that.
That's wondering.
We did that for JV football. It was separate programs.
You know, it's
It's a
okay.
football powerhouse where I went.
It's okay to make mistakes. We got to continue to develop and educate ourselves as coaches, though. So I was hoping,
Yeah,
please don't
that's
be
true.
doing
A
that
mile
today.
run. Maybe when it's third down and a mile,
Yeah,
that'd be
we
that'd be
got we got to
a
route
good.
where we want them.
But it's third down and a mile. That's where we pay. That's where it pays off.
That's right. We're good. We're good.
Uh-huh.
All right. So you're committed. You go into cross country season. Tell us about how now you're a track kid.
Yeah, I was totally invested in cross country and track and field. I was an average to above average runner on a pretty good team.
Hmm.
We were state ranked, but we weren't contending for state titles.
Hmm.
But we were, in that 8th through 15th range.
Hmm.
So it was a pretty solid
Solid.
team.
Yeah.
And we had about, 30 guys on the cross country team.
Wow.
As the program progressed and my coach, Tony Magny, started, who's in his 60th year of coaching right now.
That's so
He's,
cool.
he looks like he's 50 years old too. But
Wow.
anyway, he really developed as a coach. And a couple of years after we graduated, he started winning state titles. Our team was his first team that qualified for a state championship.
Nice.
And I think we were 13th or something like that. But, a couple of years later, he finished runner up. And the
Wow.
year after that, state title. He's won 6 or 7 state titles
Wow.
since then. And he's been runner up a few times, been third.
Hmm.
Really great coach, great program. Like I said, he's in his 60th year. That's one of my great mentors.
That's awesome.
Even my first 7, 8 years of coaching University of Detroit, I would call him about workouts of what he
Nice.
thought and things like that. So,
Yeah,
and
that's
I
so
still
cool.
talk to him. I still see him all the time.
I love that.
Saw him this summer. He's actually come to Bucknell a few times as a referee for some Patriot League meets that we hosted.
Yeah.
And,
Wow.
and I've had a couple of his athletes that
Hmm.
has competed for me. I have a long jumper on my team right now from the same high school where I went, Detroit Catholic Central. We've had a distance runner here who actually still owns our mile school record indoors, Andrew Garcia Garrison. It's 4 flat.28, I think. And, and I know Coach Magny's very proud of that fact. And
Yeah.
and the fact that he's still coaching, I still meet with him. I met him. I went to one of his summer practices this past summer. Met him for
Wow.
breakfast, and
Yeah.
we talk all the time. So
He
great mentor.
he obviously had and has continues to this day a great impact on you. I love that. I mean, that is a story. I'm glad that is not a unique story. And what I mean by that is the impact coaches have on student athletes.
Sure.
A lot of times we hear decades plus impact, and so I love hearing that. When you are your junior senior year, I'm hearing you're kind of now you're invested. You're a track kid. Spoiler, we know you become a track coach. What kind of athlete were you? And what I mean by that, like, I really don't care how good, like, I don't care if you were four
Good,
flat or
because
six
I wasn't
flat.
very
Yeah,
good.
right, exactly. Because that doesn't, how good or not good you are as an athlete, zero correlation, I think, to whether you're going to become a coach and become a good coach or not. But what I am curious about is the mind of Kevin as a 17, 18-year-old kid. Are you are you meeting with coach in prep period to talk about workouts and why'd you do this workout and that workout? Or because I have a lot of grace for 17-year-old kids, were you the kind of kid athlete that was like, coach told me to run, I ran?
I was the second one. Yeah, I did
Mm-hmm.
whatever he said.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it was. We never questioned workouts. We
Mm-hmm.
never challenged anything. We just did what they told us to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then, we had a lot of trust in him as a coach and, enjoyed it. And some kids worked harder than others. And I'll be the first to admit that, I probably wasn't 100% invested, like a few other of the other guys, in the distance running at the time. It was my first year, and even the second year. Funny story about that. Here's a funny story in which Coach Magny, my coach knows about. We told him years later,
Uh-oh,
but
uh-oh.
we used to do the high school was a Catholic high school, so during the week of Easter, we had the whole week off, and we used to practice in the morning for track and field. Anyway, the leader, we had a really great runner on the team named Andy Dillon. He ran 908 for 3,200. That was really good back then,
Yeah.
and ended up running at Notre Dame. But he was the leader of our distance program. And there was this restaurant called Uncle John's Pancake House. And like every Tuesday, there'd be, $1.50 or $2 all you can eat pancakes.
Hmm.
And now, granted, this was literally 1979.
Right, right.
So he says, "Hey, everybody bring $2 tomorrow. And when we go out for our 8 mile run, we just run over to Uncle John's and eat pancakes for about, 45 minutes and run back." So we all did that. We all put $2 in our socks or whatever, and we jog over. So this tells you we weren't 100%.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
And it was a good program, but
but
we
you know
were
what's cool
committed.
about that? I know in the immediacy, it's like, guys, I told you to run 8 mile or whatever, and
Yeah.
you've slipped off the workout. However, those are the kind stories that we tell 30 years later,
Oh, they're fun.
right?
Yeah.
It's also the memory. I bet you can prove me wrong here, Kevin. I bet you if I asked you to list all the track meets and the races and what time you ran and what places you got, you probably couldn't do it. There's a few probably rememberable races or things like that, but you remember this $2 all you can eat pancake. I mean, that's in the world of worlds, that's a very small thing, but you remember that camaraderie. That part, while you may not have gotten the athletic gains, you guys gained culture and
I
memories
guess so.
together. Yeah.
Talk about skipping a workout.
Yeah, yeah,
That's a
yeah. I'm not.
culture.
By the way,
But
if
I
you're on
get it.
if
I
you're on
get it.
Kevin's team right now, he is encouraging you to skip a workout. No, don't do that. Don't. If you do it, don't blame me. I don't want him coming at me because you missed a workout. But have fun and memories with your teammates. That's for sure.
Well, that's half the story. So we
Oh,
go, we just pig ourselves out.
right,
We're stuffed, and then it's like, well, we're we should be finishing this 8 mile run
right,
about
right.
now. We
Yeah, you
should
got
get
to
out of
time
here.
it. Yeah, that's
So,
right.
we could barely jog. It was about,
Because you're so full of
because
pancakes.
this restaurant was about 3/4 of a mile away, and we thought we could just jog back. So we barely could jog, and then so we just walked, and then when we got to the road where the high school was on, we started jogging, and the head coach, not the distance coach, who Tony Magny ended up being the distance coach or the head coach, but the head coach was the sprint coach who was also a football coach. He is literally waiting for us at the front door.
He
And
knows.
we're like, what, jogging. We're like, why is he there waiting for us? Did you see someone you knew at the restaurant? And
Right.
called him. And so we get there. He's waiting. He says, everybody in my office. And he had this big old football office. It was like a classroom, and they put all the football coaches in there. And but that was also, he's the track coach too.
Right. Right.
So we get in there, and mind you, it's not Tony Magny, who was the assistant coach at the time, who coached distance and cross country. So he's waiting for us, and we get in his office, and then he says, "Wait for me." And we're sitting there in his office, about 15 of us, and we're like, we're getting kicked off
Yeah,
this
you're
team.
busted. Yeah, you're done.
We are literally going to get kicked off this team. And he walks in and he says, guys, I am sick and tired of you guys not stretching out with the rest of the team. You guys got to start stretching out with the rest of the team.
Yes, sir.
We just said, yes, sir. We're so sorry, sir. We will start doing that.
You are correct, sir.
And we were walking out like, phew.
Like, we can go now, right?
We literally thought somebody busted us and we were going to get kicked off that team.
See you guys being so nervous, like, God, we are screwed.
Oh, and we waited like 20 minutes for
Torture.
him he's talking with other coaches, and we're just sitting there waiting for him to come in and scold us or kick us off or whatever.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I love that. Uh, I love that he probably doesn't know, and maybe he does today, that
He
how
doesn't know. We
how
told
close he
Tony
was.
Magny,
Yeah.
the distance coach. I've fessed up to him. It might have been a few years later though.
Right, right. Okay, love that. That's awesome. Kevin, you go through a couple years now, you're a track kid. Uh, where is at all, and it can be zero, and that's quite common. Where is coaching? Because you're starting to look at college and career and all that kind of good stuff. Where is coaching at all in your
Not
head?
even in sight.
Yeah, right. Not even.
Not
Okay.
even in sight.
So as a high school senior, maybe you start looking at colleges. Tell us about, what were you looking at? Did you try to run in college? And
Well,
what were you thinking of becoming as an 18-year
I've got
old?
another great story about
Love it.
that.
Good.
I was an average to above average high school runner. I was not getting letters. I think I got two letters from some Division III schools I literally never heard of.
Right.
And then I think they just send letters to everybody on every high school roster in the country.
Hmm.
But I wasn't interested in those schools. And a former older teammate of mine in high school told me he ran at Michigan State, and he told me that, this was before they really enforced Title IX, and, a lot of these big colleges had large cross country teams,
Hmm.
40, 50 guys or so,
Wow.
which doesn't really happen nowadays.
Right.
And he says, "Oh, we don't cut anybody. We keep everybody." So I was very interested in going to Michigan State
Wow.
for school, and I thought I could walk on the team because my older high school teammates said they take everybody.
Right, right, right.
So I am literally writing letters. This was before the computer age.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
This is 1980. I'm writing letters to this coach, and there was answering machines. They didn't call it voicemail; they were literally answering machines. And I'd leave messages with him. He never called me back. Now, mind you, my times were not fast,
Sure, sure.
And but I thought, this old teammate of mine in high school said, "Oh, we take everybody."
Right.
Well, that wasn't true. And
Oh,
he takes who he wants to take. He takes a lot of people. So
right.
anyway, I'm planning to go to Michigan State. And I fell in love with distance running, fell in love with track and field. But I was an average high school
Hmm.
runner who just loved the sport.
Yeah.
And I thought I could walk on at Michigan State. So I literally, July came around. I haven't heard. This guy has not called me back. He has not returned a letter, nothing. So I thought, maybe I should just drive up there. And Michigan State was maybe a hour and a half drive from
Right.
Richmond. So
Did
it's
you
not even that.
pause right there? I grew up a little bit after you, not too long, Kevin. But where I grew up in Alabama, we grew up either Alabama or Auburn fans. You're in Michigan. Did you grow up a Michigan or Michigan State fan,
Oh,
or
well, that's another thing is I used to be a huge Michigan fan.
okay?
And then I flipped to Michigan State when I didn't get accepted to go to the University of Michigan. I did not get accepted to them.
So
And
this is kind of a transition time for you because you're thinking about
yeah,
going to Michigan State and walking
yep,
on. Michigan
yep.
didn't even accept me. Screw you
Well,
guys.
I like
Okay.
both of them.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
wasn't, I didn't have an allegiance toward any one of those
Yeah,
schools.
that sounds it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I liked them both, but I probably did like Michigan better because they had better football
Sure,
at the
sure.
time. Although Michigan State won a national title in basketball with Irvin Johnson,
Oh, right.
literally in 1979, the year before I
Nice.
graduated,
Yeah, that's right.
and so I liked them as well,
Yeah.
obviously. So, Michigan obviously, I think they have higher academic standards.
Mm.
So they didn't take me,
Yeah.
and I just completely decided to go on Michigan State. They
Okay.
took all right. They
But
just
coach,
didn't take me on the track and
I
field
say,
team.
but coach isn't calling you back. Yeah.
I couldn't really hold that against them. I knew the pecking order.
But did you
I
go to
knew where I
school?
stood.
Did you go to school there and like show up first day of practice or what? I
No,
mean,
no. What I did is after he told me, I drove up there and
oh,
found
that's
him,
right. That's right. That's right.
and he basically said, "What are your times?" And I told him, and he said, "No, we can't do that." And then I drove away, and I literally withdrew in July.
Oh, wow.
Decided to go to, I met with the coach at the University of Detroit, Earl Clark,
Uh-huh.
who unfortunately just passed away a few months ago.
Mm,
And, but anyway, I went and met him and he welcomed me with open arms on the team.
yeah, yeah.
Now, University of Detroit, it's
Yeah.
Division I, but it's Division I because of basketball, at least at the time.
Right, right, right.
And now they're much more,
Yeah,
much better
yeah.
program.
But
But at the time, he welcomed me with open arms,
but
and I
you
decided to go there.
but you this is interesting. But you're committed to running college though. I mean,
I wanted to run.
you withdrew from when as soon as Michigan State said no, you were like, well, I'm not going to go to school here, then I'm gonna
Exactly.
find another
Yeah.
place.
Yep.
Wow. So you are all in on track and field cross
Sure.
country.
I loved
Yeah.
the sport. I
Yeah.
absolutely loved it. I wasn't the best runner,
Right, right, right,
obviously, but I
right.
loved being a part of a team.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed distance running. I enjoyed the meets, the practices, the team camaraderie.
Right.
So he welcomed me on the team. Now, the
Awesome.
team was not at a high level, but that didn't matter to me.
Right.
I just wanted to be a part of a program. So I went there and ran there for 4 years.
What did you when you started your freshman year, what were you thinking you were going to become? Because coaching's not in
Oh,
the
well, here's another story. My dad was he was a line worker at Ford Motor Company.
hmm
Very middle class family in the UAW, and so he told me that all the engineers at the auto companies make all the money.
Mm.
Should be an engineer, and I'm a first generation college.
hmm
So I decided I would go in mechanical engineering at the University
Wow.
of Detroit.
Dude.
Well, my very first class was a mechanical engineering class, and Mike, it might as well have been Chinese. I, I walked out of that class. I had no idea what people were talking about. And so I called up my dad. I said, Dad, I gotta change. I can't do this. And then some guys on the team said, well, you should go, business, accounting, economics, whatever. So I went into the business school. I made that change the second day of class. I,
No way.
I changed majors the second.
Literally the first day of that ME
Oh,
class, you were
I
like,
was
oh
lost.
no.
I was lost.
Hey, it's better to know on day one and not day 1000, brother. That's
Right, right. So anyway, I decided to go in business administration
okay.
with a marketing background. So anyway, I run for 3.5 years, whatnot. Well, I ran all 4 years, but
Right.
I started thinking about jobs my senior year,
hmm
and but I wasn't in a big hurry to get a job like some of my classmates were, because to be honest, Mike, I didn't really like my classes.
hmm
Um, I was running and track and cross country was what I was thinking about all the time.
That's what you liked. Yeah.
So anyway, I'm interviewing for all these jobs, marketing jobs, sales jobs, things like that. And I just wasn't excited about it, any of them. And they were, they pay and full benefits, hospitalization, and
Right.
that's what, my dad said that was important.
Right. Right.
But I wasn't excited about it. I'm like, well, what am I going to do on Saturdays? What am
Hmm.
I going to do? So anyway, that my senior year, the University of Detroit, which is now called Detroit Mercy, by the way,
hmm hmm
they merged with another school a few years after I graduated.
Okay.
So they decided, um, to add a women's cross country program that would start the year after my senior year. And my head coach, Coach Earl Clark, the one who passed away recently, he brought me in the office and he was a PE instructor at the university, along with being head track and cross country coach. And ironically, he was the tennis coach as well. And all the coaching jobs were part time, and he was a
hmm
full time PE instructor. So he brings me in and says, I really don't want to coach women's cross country. And do you want the job? And
Dude.
well, here's the deal. It paid $1,000,
Yeah, yeah.
the stipend. I was more excited about that $1,000 stipend with no benefits than I was about all these marketing jobs I was applying for that had full benefits, full
Right,
hospitalization, everything. I was more
right.
excited about this $1,000 stipend and coaching, starting a women's cross country program. And I said,
Well,
yes,
why
no.
do you think he asked you?
I believe I was the most loyal guy on his team. We weren't the best program, and he was the nicest guy ever. And I think a lot of my teammates took advantage of that, and I probably did too. But I was loyal, and he asked me to um, be the first women's cross country coach. So
As
literally, my senior year, I'm recruiting
wow.
a woman. And I ended up bringing in five or six women, and then we had a couple females that walked on the team that ran in high school. So we had like eight or nine women on this my first team.
I'm curious, as parents, we always want our kids to do and be better. Dad being, I can only imagine line work at
Didn't go
Ford
good.
back
I
in
know
the,
where you're getting at.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Dad,
Oh, they were mad. My
I'll say,
parents were mad.
I'll say dad smartly was like, hey, the engineers make the money, go that route. And that didn't work out. Now you're going to tell dad, hey, dad, so I'm getting a business degree, marketing degree, but I'm going to go for just 1,000. I'm going to actually help start and run this women's cross country program. How did dad take
That
that?
was not good. No, no. They're like, you're coaching for $1,000 with a degree? What's going on? And in the meantime, I had to make ends meet. So I was doing part-time work, telemarketing, uh,
Oh, brother.
because I wanted to have practice. And at like the 4 o'clock range, I couldn't have a full-time job and start practice at
Right,
5:30, at
right.
colleges. So I'm doing these telemarketing jobs.
Uh,
Then I got my first break. Oh, about 3 years into coaching. I was doing odd jobs for I was going to, well, first of all, I was just going to coach for a year.
hmm.
That's what I was going to do. I owed it to my coach, who gave me the opportunity, and he even gave me a little bit of scholarship money just because he had it left over, and he gave it to me to help me through. So I felt I owed it to my coach, Earl Clark,
Hmm.
to coach the woman. And when he allowed me to do that, I said, well, I'll do it for 1 year, but then I got to get a real job.
Right.
That's the exact words
Yep.
I used. I'll do it for 1 year, then I got to get a real job.
Right.
Well, I did it for that year, and I had part-time jobs, telemarketing, but then I liked it, and I got to know the woman on the team. We became close, and we finished second in the league my first year,
Oh,
the old Horizon League, or not, it was called
uh,
the Midwestern Collegiate
hmm.
Conference, that eventually changed to the Horizon League. But I thought, well, geez, we might be able to win it next year. So to make a long story short, Mike, a year became two, two became three. Then I'm like, then we added women's track and field my third year. And they gave me, in the meantime, they gave me some raises. Not, I wouldn't call them raises, but
Right. Right.
so I got up to about $3,500.
Nice.
And
Dad's happy now.
well, no, he still wasn't, because I had other part-time jobs. I got my first break. I started to get a name for myself with the team because we did win a couple championships in '86 and '87.
Nice.
And but then I got an offer to be a financial aid consultant there,
Hmm.
a full-time job
At the university.
at the university, and they
Hmm.
let me do flex time. So everybody else had to be in at 8:30. I came in at 7, so I could leave at 4
Right.
with a half-hour lunch or something like that.
Right.
So I did that for a few more years, but
Wow.
then
Did you like that?
That wore me down because our
Yeah.
team started growing. We started adding more people,
Hmm.
sprinters, hurdlers, jumpers, throwers. My stipend became a little bit more. And, between the full-time job status and the part-time with the coaching, I was pretty busy.
Hmm.
And then about year, oh, maybe I was there, 9 years, about year 6 or 7, I took our women's team to this indoor meet at Michigan State. And Mike, I thought all coaches had other jobs. I really did. I thought they were teachers at the
Sure.
university. I thought they had other jobs. I did not
Yeah.
know
It's what you knew. Yeah.
coaching was a full-time position. I knew it was with basketball and football,
Right.
but for track and cross country, I assumed
Right.
everybody had another job because my coach had another job. He was
Right.
a PE instructor. So anyway, Jim Stinzy gets the job at Michigan State. And I think it might have been 1986 or 87, around there. And I take my team to this indoor meet at Michigan State at the old the
Hmm.
track went around Jennison Fieldhouse, or
Right.
basketball court.
Right.
So I go and introduce myself to Jim, and I said, "Congratulations." And I envied Jim because he was a great runner at Wisconsin during my time.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Great runner. You know Jim.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, I said, "So Jim, congratulations on this new job. What else you do?" And he said,
What are you
"Kevin,
talking about?
isn't this enough?"
Yeah. Right.
I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Isn't this enough?" I said, "Well, you have to have another job." He
Right. Right.
said, "Kevin, isn't this enough?" And I went
I
back
love
and
this
thought about it.
confusion between you two people. You both are like, what is he talking about? What is he
This
talking
is a
about?
different world.
Right.
So I go back to my boss at University of Detroit. I said, "You know what? Those big schools, those are full-time jobs." He said, "Yeah, Kevin, yeah, but here at University of Detroit, we just can't afford to do that." And I thought to myself, man, they've been ripping me off for a long time here. So I'm doing financial aid on a full-time basis, coaching on a part-time basis. But to be honest, it was reversed. I was doing
Mm,
stuff that I shouldn't have been doing in the financial aid office. I was
right.
doing track and field stuff,
Right.
workouts, doing recruiting,
Right.
et cetera, et cetera. And it was an advantage when I could get the financial aid packages done of my recruits really quick.
Yeah. Right.
That was the
They
one
went to the
thing.
top of the heap. Right.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. So but anyway, I decided that, I want to make coaching my career, not my hobby.
Yeah.
So I started applying for full-time jobs. And in 1990, it would have been I guess the fall of 93, I got a job as an assistant full-time coach at Central Michigan with the women's program
Oh
under
yeah.
Keela Young.
Okay, pause there.
Yep.
Let's break down a few things. One is uh when you started adding at Detroit, you said you started adding other events with track and field, so jumps and throws and stuff like that. Uh I imagine, I assume, but again, we know what assuming does. They did not hire a throws coach, a jumps coach, etc. Were you coaching all those other events as well?
Yes, I was the throws coach. I did coach sprinters. I coached it all.
Hmm.
But then there was another, and Earl Clark was, helping me too. We kind of consolidated the men's and women's
Hmm.
program.
Hmm.
Uh, it wasn't official. We unofficially consolidated
Right.
the men's and women's program. And another young man came into the coaching world named Guy Murray,
Hmm.
who's been at the University of Detroit Mercy for a long, long time. He's the head coach there. But Guy, uh, he stayed on when he graduated, he decided to go to grad school at Wayne State
Hmm.
for sports management, which is also in Detroit.
Right.
But then he helped us out. We gave him a stipend to be an assistant coach for both the men's and women's track and field and cross country. So what I did is I gave him all our female distance runners
Hmm.
for the track seasons. And then I took over, and they gave me some assistant coaches with stipends,
Hmm.
$1,000, that type
Right.
of thing. So I was able to hire a sprint coach. Then I coached the
Okay.
throwers, and I still coach the distance runners too.
All right.
We figured it out with three or four coaches for both the men's and women's program.
How did you back then? Today, if a distance coach finds themselves when they have to coach throwers, I can go right on now to YouTube. I can find some tutorials. I could probably find a paid class somewhere within a couple of months. Or maybe hopefully my network is big enough that I can call a coach that I trust and say, hey, help me break this down. What did
Yep.
you do? How did you figure out how to?
Two things. Clinics. We went
Hmm.
to a lot of clinics,
Okay.
and that was when level 1 and 2 started becoming popular.
Right.
So we did that. But I also would just, call friends of mine
Yeah.
and say, can you come on over and give me a throwing lesson, And then I bought books,
Hmm.
and I joke that, and this part of this is true. I have this great coaching book on throws
Hmm.
that I still literally have, and I just stayed a chapter ahead of the students on my team is all I did,
Right. 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 I love that.
And they felt appreciated. I
Yeah.
felt
Yeah.
so it worked out, as good as it can be at the
Yeah.
time.
Wow, I love that. I love this image I have of you and Stinzy over there at Jenison, and you're like, what else? Because it's a great lesson in that we only know what we know. I
Yeah,
remember, I grew up in Alabama where in high school every sport was coached by a football coach. Our offensive
yeah,
line
yeah,
coach was the
yeah,
tennis coach, our
yeah.
quarterbacks coach was the track coach. That was just like that was everywhere. That's all I knew, right?
Mhm.
And so when I first moved to Chicago and called a local high school coach to see if he needed, I just wanted to help out. So I got into coaching. And Russ Martin, I'll never forget him from De La Salle. And I asked him, I go, so what position do you coach in football? And it reminds me of what I envisioned your conversation was. He was just like, what are you? I coach track. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But what position in football? And he's like, they got football coaches, man. I just coach track and cross country. And it was just like, wait, whoa, it blew my mind. It's like, wait a
Yeah,
minute.
yeah, yeah,
You're telling me in high school there's people who just coach that one sport? You're not also coming from the football it
yeah, yeah,
blew
yeah,
my
yeah,
mind.
yeah.
And I blew his mind because he was like, what are you talking about, dude? This is crazy. Like
That's
if
awesome.
you knew Russ Martin, you're like, there's no way he's coaching football. So just
Yeah, yeah.
hilarious. Okay, so
I'm at
uh
Central Michigan now.
yeah, Central Michigan.
Full time job.
You're a
Oh my God, I
Michigan
was
guy through
loving.
and through.
That's all
Yeah.
I had to
Oh,
do was
full
track and
time.
field. I'm full time benefits,
Oh,
not the
yeah.
law, not the best salary,
Sure, sure, sure.
but I was making as much as I was making doing two jobs
Right.
at University of Detroit Mercy.
Yeah.
But I was, you know, coaching track and field,
Yeah.
and I was full time.
Was Central in the MAC back then?
Yes, yeah,
Okay,
they're
it's always
still in
been
the
that. What
MAC.
a
Yep.
great conference. I coached at Ball State. I love that
Oh,
conference.
it was a
One of
great
my favorite
conference.
conferences.
Now
Uh,
with all the dropping of men's programs,
oh man.
kind of
Yeah.
watered down, but
Yeah,
there
yeah,
was a
yeah.
point where a lot of Olympians came from the MAC,
Oh yeah.
Eastern Michigan,
Oh,
Western
of course.
Michigan. They
Yeah.
had powerhouse
Hmm.
programs that
Hmm.
could compete at the national level.
Right. Yep, yep, yep.
And Central was at the time, there's been times where they've been at a national level.
Very solid. Yep.
Not during my 2 years.
Hmm.
We were struggling a little bit
Hmm.
on both sides. Now I was just with the women's program,
Hmm.
and actually I was uh, I started off as the throws coach,
Wow.
and then they hired I wouldn't say, and once again, I had a book. I'm staying, chapters ahead of the students. But then we needed a jump sprints coach, actually a sprint hurdle coach. And I went to Keela Yount. I said, I'd be more comfortable doing that.
Hmm.
And maybe you should hire a throws coach. And she went with it.
Hmm.
And so my first year I was a throws coach. My second year I was sprint hurdle, and they hired another throws coach.
We can be still today in 2026, very, I must say myopic in our coaching, meaning I am our identity becomes into I am a sprint hurdles coach, I am a throws
Yeah,
coach, I am
yeah,
a distance coach, etc. You have jumped around
yeah.
not only freely but like enthusiastically. Like for you to go to the coach and be like, hey, you know what? I'd probably be more comfortable with sprinter instead of saying like, hey, you know what? I really want to get back to distance. What was how was that mentality built for you that okay, I can coach. I
I
just
just
got to
wanted to be
figure
a
it out.
full-time coach. I didn't
Mm,
care what I coached. And
mm,
so Keela was the distance coach, and she was the head women's track and field and cross country coach, and it's her program. So I would help her out in other ways.
mm-hmm.
And I knew that I really wasn't going to stay there that long. I felt that I will say I felt a little out of my element coaching throwers. I did the best I could.
Hmm.
I think even the throwers on the team at Central recognized some of my deficiencies, but I gave them everything I had, and,
Right,
and I
right,
think they know that.
right.
Actually, um, one of our top throwers here at Bucknell, her name is Maddie Fowler. Her mother was a thrower for me at Central Michigan
No
University.
way.
Oh my God, yeah. And
Kevin, you're old.
we
That's just the definition of old, brother. I love
yeah,
that.
we joke about it. I
That's
said,
so cool.
I did the best I could with you, but I
Yeah,
really wasn't a throws coach. That particular year I was,
that's
but I
awesome.
gave you everything I had,
That's awesome. That's what we should
and
expect. Yeah.
she recognizes that, and
Is dad a bit? I don't know if I'm going to say dad's completely happy because he wanted engineering type route, but is dad a little
well, when
happier that
I
you're paying
started
full
coaching
time?
full time, he did accept that was my
Nice.
career, yeah,
Good. Okay.
especially when I got the Bucknell job.
Okay. Is that after Central Michigan?
No, no.
Okay.
I went from to St. Francis,
Mm.
where
Oh, that's how
you
you do
know
it.
I was the first full-time coach there. But what happened at Central? I was there for 2 years, but I like being a head coach more than, and I was a head coach at Detroit Mercy,
Right.
and I like being a head coach a little more than being an assistant. So I decided to look around, and St. Francis called me. This was in, I guess it would have been 1995.
Mm.
They called me, and they had decided that they were going to make their position full time.
The
They
head coach.
also had part time coaches for years. St.
Hmm.
Francis is a very small Catholic school in central Pennsylvania,
Hmm.
and obviously everything's based around basketball. But they all their other programs were part-time coaches. I think the
Hmm.
head football coach was full-time, but even his assistants may have been part-time,
Oh.
and the basketball coach staff was all full-time.
Hmm.
But all the other coaches were part-time. And then they decided Frank Pergolizzi was their AD. He was the old football coach, and he stepped down to become the AD. And I'll tell you what, he did a great job of creating full-time positions
Hmm.
there in sports like track and field and soccer and basically the Olympic sports that weren't football and basketball. He made those full-time jobs.
Awesome.
Now they were entry level type jobs. They were not high paid, but they were benefited, with medical
Hmm.
hospitalization and retirement plans and stuff like that. But they were low paid.
Right.
So I got this opportunity at St. Francis. Now, that meant moving out of the state of Michigan. I was
I
born and
was,
raised in Michigan, went to school,
yeah.
coached in Michigan, and then I got this offer at St. Francis.
And how far is that?
It was about a six, well,
Oh,
from my hometown of Detroit, it was a 6.5 hour trip.
yeah.
Where I was presently living at Central Michigan, about eight and a half
Yeah.
hours.
That's a haul. That's a distance. How
Yeah,
did you
yeah,
handle
yeah,
that?
but it wasn't across the country. I could fly, I could drive there.
Right, right.
So
Understood.
I go interview, and basically it was starting from scratch because they always had part-time coaches. The teams were small. They weren't very good at all. And so I was the first full-time coach. And they found a desk for me. They found some old press box was my office. But it was my program. I was in charge. I was full-time. I was single. And to be honest, I was in heaven. I could start from scratch. Nothing I could do would be wrong.
Yeah, right.
So I was actually educating the admissions office. They needed students there. And I think they gave me, 2 or 3 scholarships per program.
Mhm.
And I brought in a fairly large group with that. They were stacking it on to other financial aid. And my first recruiting class was probably about 20 kids.
Wow.
And with, split among 2 men's and 2 women's scholarships.
Hmm.
And then the vice president called me in and said, "You got 20 kids with basically 4 scholarships. If we give you 4 more, can you get another 20?" And I said,
Yes,
"Absolutely."
sir.
Yeah. So, we just slowly built that program. And my first year, we weren't very good at all, but the kids appreciated the fact that there was a full-time coach, and I'm still very close to some of those people, some of
Nice.
those athletes. And we improved, and we really improved my second year. I think our men went from, like 10th in the league to third in the league in cross country.
Wow.
And the woman, went from ninth to about third or whatever, or second. So then we started winning some championships around my third and fourth year.
Wow.
Um, and then my men's team got nationally ranked my last year there in cross country.
Dude.
And we won the NEC in track with a very full dimensional team.
Wow.
And I was the only full-time coach, but
Right.
they were giving me graduate assistants, is what they were giving me.
Hmm.
And basically, they allow them to enroll in school, gave them a stipend, and they paid for their schooling, and they gave them a stipend. And I had all graduate assistants and part-time assistant coaches
Did
that, and I rated the local high schools for assistant coaches.
mm,
That hey, we'll give you $3,000 to coach the sprinters.
right.
Instead of being the head coach at a high school, you can help me out, and you don't have the worry about being a head coach and making sure everybody has a ride home afterwards. You can
Yeah,
coach the
right.
kids and get out of here. So that was my assistant coaches.
How was the administration's attitude? We tend to think that schools are either were championship focused or were enrollment focused, and you can. I think you can be both. I don't know. It seemed like they were enrollment focused at the start, based on
Yep,
your
yep,
description. You
yep.
started winning. Did they care about the winning, or it was like, "That's
Oh
great,
yeah,
Kevin. Make sure the roster is
they
80
would
next
they
year."
would take our team out for they'd have a dinner for our team.
Awesome. Okay, good.
They would start giving out bonuses to coaches who would
Awesome.
win championships.
Yeah,
And it was great.
love hearing that.
They recognized that track and field could also help with enrollment when a school that wanted 1,200 that only had 1,000 students. Boy, I could get 80 of them on the track and field team,
Yeah,
with 4 or 5 scholarships with each gender.
right.
And so they
And win.
recognized that, but
Yeah,
they also saw that we were starting moving up the pecking order
good.
in the Northeast Conference
Love that.
each year, to the point where my last couple of years we were contending for championships. But I also had a nationally ranked men's cross country team.
Right. Yeah, good.
And anyway, that is where when I went to St. Francis, that is where I started to learn about Bucknell.
Okay.
When I was at St. Francis, because the schools are only 2 hours apart.
Okay.
And when I moved from Michigan to the middle part of Pennsylvania, I had to build a schedule.
Mm,
And the first thing I built was, well, keep in mind, a small private school didn't really have a big budget.
right.
So I had to find a place that was within driving distance where I didn't have to go to hotels,
Right.
and I could take the kids to for meets. And I found this school called Bucknell. And I had known about Bucknell because they had great teams cross country for years with Art Golden, and they would
Oh yeah.
a fixture at the national championship.
Yeah.
So anyway, I recognized Bucknell's only 2 hours away, and they got an indoor track. And I looked them up, and I realized, man, they host a lot of meets.
Mm.
And so I started taking my kids from St. Francis to the Bucknell meets because only 2 hours away, didn't need a
Okay.
hotel, just an out and back. And so I went to these meets at Bucknell. I met Art Golden, and Bucknell had a huge team, just enormous team, very full dimensional sprints, hurdles, jumps, throws, mid distance, long distance. But I recognized that they had a lot of spirit.
Hmm.
And I realized this Art Golden guy really creates a culture. And so I go to these Bucknell meets, and the Bucknell kids were just so enthusiastic. And I
Hmm.
thought to myself, that's the type of program I want to build at St. Francis.
Interesting.
So I started increasing the size of our team to the point. Now, we were never at Bucknell's level, but I think when I left there, I had about 35 to 40 men, 35 to 40 women
Yeah.
in the program. When I got there in 1995, I think I had, you know, between track and field and cross country, I think I had 13 guys
Hmm.
and 20 women
All right.
altogether. So we built this program up. We started winning. And so anyway, I started to use Bucknell as a model about my third or fourth year at Bucknell. But then my fourth and fifth year, I started using Bucknell as a target.
Hmm.
I think we can beat these guys. And if we could beat Bucknell in a track meet or a cross country meet, we should be able to win the Northeast Conference. Now, Bucknell was always in the Patriot League. But my last couple years, we started to beat Bucknell in cross country on the men's side. Our women couldn't touch them. Bucknell had some national caliber women at the time. Then even in track and field, my men's team beat Bucknell at a scored meet.
Hmm.
Once again, my women's team was not beating Bucknell, but
Right.
we were closing in. But Bucknell had a powerhouse women's team
Right.
back in like 1999, 2000, that range. So anyway, I'm at St. Francis for 6 years, and we got pretty darn good where we're winning Northeast Conference championships. If we're not winning, we're second or third. And I had gotten a couple raises, but just minimal raises, enough, and a couple bonuses. But I realized, you know what, I'm not so sure how much more I can do at St. Francis. And the thing that at the time I didn't have I didn't have an outdoor track facility.
Right.
So we were using local high schools and indoors. We had a little jogging track, but it wasn't a true indoor track.
Right.
So I was getting a little tired of that, and I decided, I'm not sure I can get this program any better.
Yeah.
We
Pause.
were we were good.
Pause there. I'm interested. So we've talked a lot about your career up until this part of a lot of learning. You're coaching throws. You go to learn. You get a book. You're doing that. You coach sprint. You calling up people. I love all that. Um, I was going to ask about your development as a head coach, and you kind of touched on it. Is like I got to put together a schedule because a lot of people think they want to be a head coach, but they don't realize what it all entails. It actually
Sure.
probably entails less coaching than you actually
Yep.
think. It involves scheduling, budgeting, equipment, all this
Yep.
other thing. So I love that. But what I'm curious about, something was real interesting there, is when you said you kind of discovered Golding and Bucknell, and you mentioned the word culture. And that you got attracted to that. You're like, wait a minute, they're doing things a little differently. They're a little bit more
Yep.
enthusiastic. Did you, up to this point, so in St. Francis, how did you, I'm going to say manifest that, but what did you do differently as a coach once you started learning? It's not like you had zero knowledge of what culture and team
Sure.
attitude and things like that is, but now this seemed to be like an example of like, oh, wait a minute. Okay, they're doing something different here. How did that manifest for you as a coach
Sure.
the last half there at St. Francis?
Well, at St. Francis, we developed an outstanding culture. And the culture we developed there was we are a blue collar bunch of misfits.
Hmm.
And we don't need the fancy uniforms. We don't need the big time budget. We don't need the indoor track. We'll just do hill work and in the winter months. And that was the culture that we developed there. And it worked. And our teams got very, very good. Where
Right.
we were winning or contending for Northeast Conference championships. I had an All-American named Brian Sell, who ended up making an Olympic team a few years later. He
Wow.
ran in Beijing. He ran for Hanson's, and ironically in
Yeah.
Michigan.
Yeah. All right.
And ironically, I knew Kevin Hanson from my Detroit days, and his wife is Nancy Manzera, who ran for me at University of Detroit, ironically. So I knew the Hansons very well. And Brian's senior year was my last year there, and he was an All-American.
Wow.
And I always felt he could be a great marathoner. So I hooked him up with Hansons, and Hansons loved him.
Hmm.
And we ended up making an Olympic team in
That's so
Beijing.
cool.
So he was our first big time protege there. But so we developed a different type of culture at St. Francis of we're just some blue collar misfits and we're going to beat the hell out of you.
Nice.
So anyway, I get the Bucknell job, and
So
Bucknell
you see
is
that the runway, not much more runway to go in St. Francis. So you
right.
start looking elsewhere. How does Bucknell even become available for you?
Art Golden passed away.
Hmm.
He had cancer that he developed in the late 90s, and then he was actually in remission. And then I guess it would be the spring of '01. He passed away of a heart attack due to the complications from the cancer
Right.
that he was in remission for, and he passed away at the IC4A ECAC championship
Oh.
at Princeton at the time.
Oh.
So it was quite a shock to the team, quite a shock to the
Sure.
community, quite a shock to the world of track and field, because obviously he was a very
Legend.
well-renowned coach.
Yes.
So anyway, I was at the meet and they had a moment of silence. He passed away at his hotel room.
Mm.
And so anyway, Joe Klim was the assistant coach, and he kept, obviously quite a shock, but they stayed and competed the next day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah, kind of like Coach Goodwin would have wanted this type
If,
thing.
yeah,
But
agreed,
that was the
but
word
hard.
of the weekend.
Yeah.
The Art Golden died.
Mm.
And ironically, one of my assistant coaches, who was a school teacher near St. Francis, said, you might want to look at that position. And I'm like, why would Bucknell want me? They get anybody they want,
Mm.
and they have alumni. Why would they want me? So anyway, they went to funeral services and all that. And probably around a month later, they advertised for the position. I didn't even apply. I'm like, they're not gonna. They wouldn't
Wait,
want
wait, wait, Kevin, your journey up to this point has a lot of earned confidence.
me. Right.
Sure, you want me to take over a women's program or build, I'm sorry, not even take over, build a women's program at Detroit? Okay. Wait, you want me to coach throws at Central Michigan? Okay, I'll figure it out. Wait, you want me to become the head coach at St. Francis and we got to get this done and this done? Okay. And when I say earn, meaning not like I don't see bravado, I don't see
Yeah.
bad ego. I see like, okay, I'll get to work. Where is this is the first time I'm hearing of some doubt from
Well,
you. What is
two
this coming
things.
from?
I had already interviewed for a couple jobs. I was
And did
interviewed and
and
was
didn't
offered
yeah, yeah.
Southeast Louisiana University.
Oh, wow.
Ironically, um, my AD who hired me at St. Francis was the AD there. So
Wow.
he calls me, maybe June after the NCAA meet, or no, it was before, and says, I'm looking for a head coach. Do you know anybody? And I said, well, what about me? And he said, you're really interested? I said, yeah. And so he brings me down for an interview, and their team was kind of down, but they had an outdoor track, and you
Yeah.
don't really need an indoor track
Right.
in New Orleans, but they didn't have many kids on the team. And I'm looking at the tuition, I'm looking at Pell Grants and stuff like that. I'm like, I think I can get you, I think we can make this team 35 to 40 on each gender.
Mm-hmm.
And they looked at me like I had two heads, the administration. Like, how can you do that? And I said, well, you get kids who are getting other aid, you stack it on to some scholarship money, and you just pester them. Sorry, not everybody can go to LSU. And so to make a long story short, he offers me the job. And it was not quite the salary. Yeah, I'm thinking, geez, I've got to relocate to New Orleans. I am not a Southern guy. This is a
Right.
huge difference in lifestyle.
Right.
And I said to my old boss, who's the AD there, I said, if you can get me $6,000-7,000 more in salary, you got yourself your next head coach.
Right.
He said, give me a day and call me tomorrow. And anyway, I called him the next day, and he said, I decided to go in a different direction. And I'm
Wait,
like,
he didn't say I couldn't get the money. He said
no.
I decided.
He says, I'm
Oh,
going in a different direction. I said, well, what about the old offer? Can I take the old offer? And he said, nope, I got my guy. I'm like, wow, that sucks, because I'm negotiating, but he would have said no, I would have
oh,
taken
you
the
weren't.
job. And so I blew that one, I guess. And I'm like, man, did I just blow that opportunity
Right.
because I was greedy? I mean, all I tried to do was negotiate.
Right. Right.
So anyway, I get an interview at Portland State
Hmm.
at the NCAA. I took Brian Sell to Oregon
Mhm.
to run the 10,000 at the NCAA. During that time, Utah was there interviewing for a women's coach. She just the assistant AD came right to Eugene, and she's interviewing coaches at restaurants.
Mhm.
So I interviewed for this woman's position at Utah, and I didn't get it. But then I also drove up to Portland for Portland State, and I interviewed at Portland State. I
Mhm.
didn't get it. And then Bucknell called me. I decided to just throw in a resume to Bucknell for, to be honest, shits and giggles.
Right.
I didn't think they would call me. They get anybody they want at Bucknell, I felt.
Right. Right.
Why would they want me? But I didn't even write a cover letter. I just threw in a resume. And then they called me for an interview. And then I found out during the interview process, which took all day long, they had all kinds of search committees,
Hmm.
alumni, student athletes,
Wow.
assistant ADs. That was an all day uh, interview.
Yeah.
I realized, boy, this is an important hire.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
evidently, Art Golden told the AD when he was struggling with his health that if something ever happened, you should call that guy at St. Francis and
Wow.
interview him. So now, once again, they didn't call me, but when I threw in that resume, they called
Wow.
and they brought me in for a visit. And that's where they told me that Art Golden dropped my name to them, like 2 years earlier, that if something ever happens to me, call the guy at St. Francis because they got a pretty good program and they don't even have a track and field facility.
That had to feel good.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. So I interviewed here and I ended up getting the job. And and I've been here since. This is my 25th year.
So how, taking over any program, as you've seen, first of all, you started a program at Detroit, you go to Central Michigan, you take over St. Francis, taking over any program, regardless of the health of the program, is tough, right? Because you
Oh yeah.
have you have a certain amount of kids that are still there that don't know who you are.
Yep.
They came there for another person. Uh, there's many things that go on there, the administration, there's just a ton. How that's hard. Here you go taking over a program that's successful.
It's
So it's not
established.
so it's not like Kevin, come be our savior. It's like, bro, we're already
No,
good.
the coach died. He
You
wasn't
have
fired.
you have a coach that is a legacy coach. He's
Sure.
amazing. He did an amazing job. So you got to replace that. And there is trauma and grief in the program in the athletic department. The coach had passed away. It's not like he retired, left for another school. He passes away doing his passion, his profession,
Sure.
coaching track and field. Kevin, that seems fairly insurmountable, my friend. What were I assume you had to have like, okay, I need to come in and establish X, Y, and Z. Like, how do you work on changing things? Because it's like, well, that's not how Coach Golden did. I mean,
Well,
there's
there
just
was a
so
lot of that.
much. Yeah.
There's a lot of that. I inherited the coaching staff,
Mm.
two full-time and two part-time coaches.
Mm-hmm.
I inherited, and one of the coaches was applying for the position.
Oof, yeah.
So it was, anyway, it was a unique time at Bucknell. What I had going for me is my St. Francis teams at the time had beaten Bucknell on the men's side,
Oh, so there's a little bit of
track
proof
and
there.
field and
Yeah.
cross country at,
Okay.
regionals,
Mm-hmm.
invitationals, things like
Mm-hmm.
that. So
Mm-hmm.
I came in with a little bit of credibility.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And now the women's team were still way better than my women's team, but I have found that women don't really hold that against you at all.
Mm.
So the women's team was very welcoming. The men's team was very welcoming.
Mm.
The alumni were very welcoming. Ironically,
Oh, wow.
some alum got my number through somebody, my cell phone number. When I took the job, I probably, I moved, I took about a week and a half to, you know, leave St. Francis, put everything together,
Right, 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 right.
kind of a clean getaway there and, make sure everything was good.
Yeah.
About a week and a half after I accepted the job, I was kind of in limbo at St. Francis. I'm still going in, but I was just kind of getting things organized to make my exit.
Mm-hmm.
I probably got about 40 calls from alumni of Bucknell just welcoming me to be
Oh,
the head coach. Somebody got my number, my cell phone, and they started calling me. And I know they were feeling me out is what they were doing. They were
sure.
very welcoming me, but then they're like, what are your best workouts, Kevin?
They're doing their own interview.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, that they care.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
do. Oh, the alumni are passionate here at Bucknell. It's
Yeah.
crazy. It's crazy, but
Wow.
it's a good crazy.
Yeah.
So
That's a good distinction.
anyway, there were some transitional things with,
Yeah.
team policy and things like
Hmm.
that. I inherited Art Golden's drinking policy, which was nothing,
Hmm.
no tolerance at all. And, we had to change that a bit. We have a different one now, but there's still a policy. The assistant coaches, obviously I'm different from Art Golden,
Right.
so that was a transition. And a couple assistants, after a year or two, they left, and I was able to bring some of my own people in.
Right.
That helped. But anyway, the first 2 or 3 years there was a little bit of drama.
Mm.
But then about year 4, year 5, our men started winning track and field championships, and for years we couldn't beat Army Navy at all. And then all of a sudden we're inching closer. We started to beat them,
Hmm.
and I had the kids I coached my first 3 years. I loved them. They were very, very good, and they accepted me. But then after about year 4 or 5, it's like being a homeowner. I felt as though my first 2, 3 years, I was renting a home. That's how I felt.
Mm-hmm.
And then about year 4, year 5, I felt ownership of the program. So
Interesting.
it took about 3 years before I felt ownership of the program.
Yeah.
Everything was being compared with Art Golden.
Yeah, right.
He was, there's statues here. He's in the Hall of Fame. Uh,
Oh,
but
dude.
then I started to develop my own identity about year
Right.
4, year 5. And of course, now I'm in year 25, and everyone knows I'm the head coach here.
Now you got to follow Donner. Right. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
But what I
I
like is we've only had 2 head coaches here in 56 years.
oh, is that right?
Art Golden
Oh,
was here for 31 years. I'm
wow.
in year 25 now.
That says a lot about the school and the athletic
Yeah,
department. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I think about like guys like Golden and other just legendary. I think about like the worst job in the world is going to be to replace Pat Henry and to
Sure.
replace Dennis Shaver and replace Mike Holloway and Amy D.
You
Like,
always want to be the coach who replaced the coach.
yeah, you know who
That's what
did,
you want to be.
you know who I thought did a really excellent job. He just retired himself, and you would have thought like I think a lot of people were like, "There's no way he's gonna do a very good job." Is Bucky when he had to replace John
Oh,
McDonald, another
heck
just
yeah.
bigger than life coach, and Buck, you come in and it's like
He
you
was
can't
able to
win,
do
Buck,
it.
and he did it. Yeah, it's like
But I'm
Buck, there's no
sure,
way.
I'm sure for about 4 or 5 years, people second guessed him.
Of
Oh
course.
my God.
And even I even think about, and Kevin, maybe you can expand on this. I even think about the own, we've talked a lot in years past about imposter syndrome, your own doubt, your own self voice of like, man, like in Bucky's case, John did this and John won all these, and if I don't,
Oh, I went through that. I went through that
yeah,
at Bucknell here.
that's what I
I'm
wondered.
like, how
Yeah,
the heck did Art Golden get these kids to the national championships in cross
right,
country
right.
9 times out of a 30-year
Yeah.
period? And
What
I
what
thought,
what
man,
what clicked for you of the confidence of like, okay, the goal is the same, championships, graduate kids, etc. But there is a what's that old song? I did it my way, but there is a
yeah.
my way. When did it and how did it? And it may be not, when I say click, it may not be like a light switch where it just went from off to on. It could be a slider button here. How did that confidence level come up with like, okay, this is my program? You talked about kind of renting the house for the first,
Yeah.
I love that
Yeah.
analogy. And then, oh, now it's my home. How did that, like, what are some steps that you took, whether it was the kids,
Oh, well,
administration?
we were getting individuals in the national championships, not teams in cross country. We were getting individuals. But our women's team continued to win Patriot League championships in all 3 sports. And we would, a few of those would be a triple crown, cross country, indoor, and outdoor. And, we just had good women's teams. And the women's team was very accepting of me, very accepting.
Hmm.
And I am a different coach than Art Golden, personalities and
Hmm.
we
Hmm.
do things. And I think the women were very accepting. The men were a little hesitant, but there were pockets of men that were totally on board. And then when we started winning track and field championships on the men's side around 2000, well, we started to close the gap with Army Navy around 08, 09. But in 10, when we finally beat them in track and field, the team, we were on board. Everybody
Hmm.
was on board. I had my own staff that I hired. Um, and that was really when ownerships really started to establish itself.
We
And
like,
we were able to win some track and field titles on the men's side. When I got here, everyone said, you can't beat Army and Navy. You
hmm,
can't beat them in
hmm.
track and field. Maybe cross country you can, but track and field, impossible. And we started to do it 4 or 5 years later. Now and then, although I hate to say this, but um, Army Navy made some coaching changes. I don't know if it has anything to do with us beating
Sure,
them,
sure.
but then who they have now, these guys
Pretty
they're
good.
recruiting animals, man.
Pretty good. Yep.
They are, Michael Smith is a Bucknell alum.
Oh, is that
Oh
right?
yeah, yeah. His daughter runs for me.
Oh
Hayden Smith.
no.
Yeah, so he's very supportive, but
Yeah,
he's
right.
taking Army and doing a great job.
Great
And
job.
of course, Jamie
Jamie. Hmm.
Navy is building he's built a buzzsaw over
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
So, and I love them being in the Patriot League because they challenge you,
Right.
but man, they're tough to beat.
Yeah. Yeah. There's lots
But
of good coaches out
I'd
there,
like to
man.
say
Yeah.
that part of it has something to do with us beating them, like in the the woman beating them for a long time, but then the men beating them in 2010 through 14, and that was about when they made the changes. Both programs, Cooksey retired,
Hmm.
and they brought in Jamie, who you know made it up. He's a director now. They used to have
Hmm.
separate coaches between the men
Right.
and
That's
women
right.
at Navy, and of course, Michael, is doing a real good job there, and
Yeah.
we're kind of back in the same boat. Although my team is very good, then when Boston joined the league, they came in
Mm,
fully funded with scholarships.
right.
We were still no scholarship at the time on the men's side,
Hmm.
and the Patriot League has turned into one of the top mid majors in the country, I
Yep.
believe,
Yep.
for track and field and cross country
Hmm.
with Army, Navy, Boston, us, Lehigh has really gotten pretty good.
Right. Right.
So American on the distance side can do some
Hmm.
damage. It's a good league.
Yeah.
And
There's a
yeah, of
lot of great coaches out there, and that's why when someone wins, to me, it's like it's special. Like you need to celebrate it because
course.
it's hard to win because
Oh,
everybody's
it
trying to
sure
do the
is.
same thing you are, buddy. I
Yep.
love that. What is it's interesting, one of the we almost titled this podcast instead of the Gill Connections podcast, the Gill Mythbusters. So I like to bust myths out there in our profession of coaching track and field. And one of those myths is that everybody moves all the time. No one stays at a program. And they always add any more, but then they'll say back in the 2000s and 90s, the same thing, blah, blah, blah. And by the way, this is a guy I coached for 10 years and was at 5 different institutions. So I was that guy.
Yeah, yeah.
What has kept you there? Because I think it says a lot when I see a guy or gal that's at a program for a long time. First of all, I know that person has to be successful, not only on the track, but also navigating administrations and things like that. What's kept you there at Bucknell for 25 years? That says a lot about you.
Yeah.
It says a lot about the school.
Well, what's funny about that, Mike, is when I got here, I thought this would be just a stepping stone.
Mm,
When I started to have success in the profession, I thought to myself, you know what? I want to be at Notre Dame or
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Texas,
Right,
Alabama,
right,
Michigan. Michigan's my home state. I always kind of had a
right,
target over there. Whenever
right,
something opened up,
right.
maybe I would go for it. That was my goal as a coach, was to be at a blue blood type
Yeah,
institution.
yeah.
I realized about year 4 and 5 at Bucknell, I was wrong.
Mm,
And I just loved the student athlete welfare that Bucknell provided.
mm,
I love the alumni base that was so passionate.
right.
Can't beat our facilities here.
Mm-hmm.
The administration does take care of their coaches.
Good.
And I realized that, it's a nice place and a nice place to raise a family. I ended up marrying my wife, Amy, who was ironically a math professor at St. Francis. I got to
What
know her my
professor?
last year at St. Francis.
What kind of professor?
She's a mathematics
Math,
professor,
math. Okay, got it. Oh man, so she's
math
smart.
and
Jeez.
statistics.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, she's very smart.
Does she
Not
laugh at
smarter than me.
you about your mechanical engineering story? Because I assume there was a lot of math there.
She knows about them.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyway, we started dating literally during my transition between St. Francis and Bucknell.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's the wrong
literally.
time to meet someone for a long-term relationship.
Well, what's funny is my last month at Bucknell, the director of athletics asked me to be on a search committee for a swimming coach
At St. Francis.
at St. Francis.
Got it, got it. Yeah, okay.
So I'm on the search committee, and we had already interviewed somebody. And then between interviews, I got the Bucknell job and accepted it. So we're not done interviewing swim coaches. So I was on the committee. My wife, Amy, was on the committee representing academics. And and I was representing athletics. And then there was another assistant AD, and there were
Right.
like 3 or 4 people on this committee.
Right.
So anyway, I called the director of athletics and I said, I'm a lame duck coach,
Right.
obviously.
Right.
Do you still want me on this interview committee? And he said, yes, because that shows that our coaches can get other jobs and move on, and that might be appealing.
Right.
I said, okay. So during that week and a half transition between me moving from St. Francis to Bucknell, I was on this interview committee for a swim coach in which Amy was on. And I've known of Amy.
Mm.
And I knew her, through the mathematics department and
Right.
stuff. And anyway, I get there for the second interview. And they were interviewing 3 candidates on 3 successive days. And she's the only one in the room. I get there, we're waiting for everyone to show up. She says, I heard the bad news that you're leaving us.
Oh, bad news.
And I said,
Mm.
yeah, it's, they made a offer I really couldn't refuse at Bucknell, and I'll be here another week and a half or so. And she said, well, why don't we go celebrate and have a beer? So she asked me out.
Nice.
And
You are a good recruiter.
yeah, that's what people say. So so anyway, we went out and we started, stayed in contact, and we had a long distance relationship for about a year.
Hmm.
And I would make my way back to her hometown. Her hometown was right near St. Francis, a little town called Portage, in which, ironically, I have a few kids from Portage on my team right now. So anyway, we had a long distance relationship for about a year, and then I proposed, and then she ended up getting a job at Bucknell as a
Nice.
mathematics professor and
Dude.
statistics, and she's been teaching here, and I've been
Wow.
coaching here, and the rest is history. We have a young
That's
daughter who is a freshman at Susquehanna University, which is
hmm
right down the road.
hmm
She lives there, even though it's only 20 minutes away.
hmm
And she's on the swim team. She's studying elementary education.
Oh, and she's a swimmer, not a track. Okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
She did
Oh,
high school track for 3 years. She didn't do it her senior year.
yeah.
She was a javelin thrower,
Mm.
and she, hurt her shoulder in swimming and
Mm.
decided not to go out for track as a senior when she
Yeah.
committed to Susquehanna for swimming. And she just loves it there at
That's
Susquehanna
awesome.
academically. Great friends. She's on their swim team,
Cool.
and she's close enough where she can get home every now and then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, quite a bit, and worked out very well. So
I
anyway,
love it.
that's how I met Amy
Awesome.
right at the end of my St. Francis career. And now, she teaches at Bucknell. So we both have jobs here at Bucknell.
Well,
So
my
anyway, yeah, took about 4 or 5 years to, really feel as though I had ownership of the program.
yeah.
And ironically, I still hear Art Goulden stories. Oh,
Is
they're
that right?
incredible. They're
Well, he was bigger
incredible.
than life. Holy
Our
cow.
alumni, we hosted a very large meet this past weekend called the Bison Outdoor Classic. And we also, allowed alumni to come back and had a reception. So a lot of Art Goulden's alumni came back. And I really, one thing I really loved about this place is the alumni are
Hmm.
so passionate, and they're always looking for excuses to come back. And we provide a lot of excuses because we have a lot of different home meets here,
Right.
and so it's worked out really good.
That's
So
awesome.
anyway, I had these ambitions of going Power Four,
Hmm.
and I realized between the alumni, the facilities, student athlete welfare, what Bucknell's all about. I really like that aspect that it's student athlete, student first. And I'll be honest though, these new NCAA rules on capping roster spots, the portal, I rarely have to worry about the portal. Our retention rate's so high. Kids
Hmm.
are coming here for academics first and foremost,
Right.
and not necessary for track and field. And then the fact that, the university opted out of profit sharing.
Mhm.
we just decided we're not going to pay our athletes here
Right.
through, you know, collectives, and people generally don't leave here.
Hmm.
At least in my sport, I think our basketball program has some issues,
Hmm.
but in my sport, people aren't necessarily just looking for something better. But because we opted out, I didn't have to cut half my team.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we've always had large teams here, even the Art Golden days. It's about development.
Mm.
And now we're not as big as they were in the old days with Art Golden, but I carry between 80 and 85 women. And there's still a Title IX cap, which is 67 for the men's side, but that's a heck of a lot better than 45.
Hmm.
So we still have that development part, and I didn't have to cut half my team because we're not paying any athletes here.
So,
It's about academic student athlete welfare is
so
what we're all about here.
let me pick your brain on that.
Yeah,
You're like every good coach, you're one step ahead of me because that's exactly where I wanted to go with you on that, Kevin. And first of all, I
sure.
appreciate your origin story with your wife. As a guy
Yeah.
who a fellow guy who's married to an Amy, I get it. That's my wife's name as well. So I love that story. Great background there in regards to Bucknell and today's what I'll call it today's NCAA. My question was going to be what you've been there for 25 years. What have you seen different? You started describing a lot of those. What I'm curious about, one of the things that I'll say I fight back on. So, I have turned my career. I have a lot of similarities to you, Kevin, in the sense of like, I've been here 20 years now at Gill after coaching for 10. And first of all, I see a lot of different, when I got to Gill in '06, it is different than, today, Gill in 2026 and a lot of positive manners. What we do and how we do changes a lot with how NCAA and track and field goes in those regards as
Sure.
well. And one of the things that I've been able to do with my career here that I'm like, I just have the best job in the world is I get to be an advocate, a cheerleader, whatever. I've been described many different ways for track and field coaches, so like I care about Kevin and I love that you're Coach Donner and that keeps me employed and I appreciate that. But Kevin to me is very important that, you could have done a lot of things, maybe not engineering, but you could have done a lot of things. And thank God for me and my family, you chose coaching track and field. So one of the things that I partake in is, especially through social media, is having conversations again about myth busting a little bit, right? So you hear this now with the new NCAA, air quotes there, but the roster caps, that's the big deal,
Sure.
is that, there's no more development in college track and field. And specifically, they're saying there's no more development in Division One.
I'd say more at the Division I level. It's more
Well,
buy-in kids, and but it's trickling down to
I'll
Division two
disagree
and
with that,
three. I
Kevin, but
saw that
what
kid broke that Division III record on our track this past week.
what I push back on is that like there was I was in this argument really online yesterday about kids and development if a high school coach doesn't do X, Y, and Z, they're really holding the kid back, blah blah blah. And what they're really saying, they're not saying the quiet part out loud, is they're really saying that kid may not be able to go to, I'll use some of the schools that you have talked about here, Michigan or Michigan State or inside your state, Penn State, etc. That you're right, that high school kid might not be able to go to their air quotes dream school, the school they grew up being a fan of for football, by the way. Let's
Yeah,
be real here. And the reason I push back is like, hey, well, that kid still has a lot of amazing options out there from Bucknell to
absolutely.
junior college and can wherever. I mean, there are a ton of great coaches. How
Yep.
have you been able to so what has changed for you? I love that your rosters and stuff hasn't had to change because roster limits, but I have to imagine recruiting has maybe changed, whether it's the mentality of the kid today, the mentality of the parent of the kid, etc. What social media definitely is different in 25 years that you've been at Buck now. How have you adapted and developed in recruiting today's 18-year-old versus 2001's 18-year-old?
Oh, it's changed a lot. Now, we at Bucknell, because of our high academic standards and the fact that we're not considered a blue blood for track and field or cross country, we had to throw a very large net out there for recruiting.
Mm-hmm.
But there were some restrictions because Bucknell has a 25 to 30% acceptance rate. So got to be pretty smart. You have to
Mm-hmm.
have very good grades. You got to be taking AP classes, honors classes. You used to have a very high SAT score. Now we are test optional, but if you have a high score, it really helps a lot
Right.
for us. But also, the last few years, I believe I've had my best recruiting because of these roster caps at the larger schools.
Hmm.
Not everybody can just go and make the Penn State team right now.
Right.
Not everybody can be at Notre Dame. Not everybody can be at Georgetown.
Hmm.
Places like that, which have been blue bloods in the sport, at least out east here.
Right.
And so they got to go someplace, and we might be kind of that next step.
Hmm.
So I have found that there's the last couple years recruiting, there's just been better kids available
Hmm.
at some of the Power Four schools just could not
You
take
can't. Right.
the
Hmm.
caps. And I think I've told my staff this, that we have to be ready, and I do think there's going to be some very good kids available. And I believe my last 2 to 3 years have been our best recruiting. And we're able to take them in because we're not at a 45-person cap, because we're
Hmm.
not paying any of our athletes here at Bucknell.
Hmm. Hmm.
The quarterback at Bucknell is not getting any money.
Right.
He might get a scholarship, but that's it.
Right.
If he gets some NIL money, he's getting it on his own.
Right.
We
The
can
way it was
still
in
do
the way
that.
it was intended, by the way. Yeah.
Well, that was the intention of
Hmm.
NIL,
Hmm.
was to market yourself
Right.
and get the extra money, which you couldn't do
Right.
a few years ago. It was not about universities taking a collective from alumni and then just
Right.
giving it to the kid.
Right. Right. Right.
So they found a back door of NIL. We're not allowed to do that here.
Right.
We can't take a collective and pay people. Our kids can still, try to get some NIL on their own. And,
Right.
I believe our good javelin thrower, Abby, might be, I'm looking into that. I'm not sure exactly what she does, but I think she's looking into, doing lessons and stuff like that.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that's what the NIL's original intent was for,
Right. Yeah, exactly. Right.
not to get collectives and pay a
Right.
quarterback $1 million.
Right.
So we're not allowed to do that since we opted out, and because of that, we can maintain our business as usual roster
Right.
caps
How
because
do you, when you're talking to whether it's a parent, a high school coach, or the kid themselves, again, I'm doing air quotes here, the D1 or bust. Now you are D1, but
yep.
the kid that just says, "Hey, coach, appreciate you calling me," or when I say kid, it could be the parent, high school. There's a lot of gatekeepers here. Coach, love your program. That's all good, but you know what? Coach, I'm going to Notre Dame. I'm going to Michigan. And you're like,
Oh yeah,
brother, you run 4:15 in the
we get
mile.
that.
You ain't
Yep.
doing that. How do
Oh,
you
but yeah,
do?
we still get that. I think we're just aiming a little higher
Yeah.
now. I think we're just because
What I'm
part of
curious,
recruiting.
are you trying to convince that kid, or do you say, okay, cool, underneath your breath, when they don't call you, call me back? Like, what? How do you handle that?
Yeah, well, I just want to let them know that we're a viable option. And but with that said, because of our high academic standards, our recruiting calendar is a little earlier
Oh,
than a lot of those places.
I didn't
So
think about that.
they've got, yeah, where you have to apply by January 15th here. If you don't have an application in by January 15th, you're not coming
Is
to
that
Bucknell.
right? So there's
Correct. So
no finding a guy July at summer club.
no, there's none of that.
Oh,
We do
interesting.
the majority of our, we just had a junior day at our Bison Outdoor Classic. We had 61 juniors there. Our recruiting is done right now. It is literally done
Yeah,
for the seniors in high school.
right.
May 1st is when everybody has to send a deposit. But with our slot
Wow.
program, we're 90% of our recruiting's done. There's a few kids who applied, who got accepted, that were we call them walk-ons, and they have to decide by May 1st if they want to come to Bucknell, and we have to decide whether we want to give them a roster spot or not.
What's
But
the
the majority of our
leniency?
recruiting is done.
What's the leniency? May 1st comes around and I'll just keep using the Miles example. A 404. I'm assuming you would love to have a 404 miler.
Obviously, we
Yeah, yeah,
would
yeah.
love to have
You never
a
know. You never.
404 miler.
Your school record's four flat, so it's not like 404 is going to come in and be the school record holder. But okay, a
But
404 calls and says, "Hey, coach, I've been watching from afar. I definitely want to go to Bucknell."
nothing I can do.
Really? Zero.
Nothing I can do. Zero.
Wow.
Yep. Yep.
Oh, man. So you're busting. You're
Maybe
busting.
they'll accept an application February 15th,
But
maybe.
yeah.
They're actually because we have the early decision one, early decision two
Right.
process, but the regular decision process is you have to apply by January 15th. You're going to either get denied or accepted by the third week of March. And then you have the third week of March to May 1st to decide if you want to deposit here.
So your staff.
Once the letters are sent, the acceptance or denial letters or wait list letters are sent the third week of March. There is absolutely nothing we can do. They might be nice, and if I present a kid mid-February, they might be able to accept his application or her application
Wow.
because they're not done making
Yeah.
their
Right.
decision.
Right. 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 Right.
So they can get them in the pool. And if I present them a kid in mid-February and we have some slots left,
Yeah.
they'll probably accept the application.
Yeah.
But especially if it's a good student, if it's a
Right.
bad
Right. Right. I'm
good
assuming. Yeah. Yeah.
student,
Yeah. Yeah.
they might not accept it
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. So
But
so
so I'd
you're
say, yeah, once mid-February hits, there's really not much we can do.
so your staff is bust and hump spring of junior year through summer and fall, and
The
then not that there's ever a click,
summer
you're turning
leading
back over to
into
the
the
next
senior
junior.
year is
Yeah.
critical.
Yeah.
The fall of the senior year,
Yeah.
that's when it's happening here.
Wow.
Yeah, that's when it's happening. We are busy in the
Interesting.
fall and early winter. Uh,
Yeah.
and then we kind of take a little break. We're just, maintaining contact with the recruits who committed to
Right.
us.
Right. Right. Right.
But there's a few stragglers that we're still kind of working on. For example, there's a young lady who has an acceptance letter from Bucknell. We recruited her in the fall, but since then she's gone from above average to outstanding. And all of a sudden, people are recruiting her. She has an acceptance
Mm,
letter at Bucknell. She has to make a decision by May 1st, and that's where we're coming in now.
got
We
it.
convinced this girl to apply, or she must have liked it, but we
Yeah.
may
Keep
not have made
recruiting
an
her.
offer at the
Yeah.
time. But since then, the last 3 months, she's gotten very, very good.
Right.
And now we're going to try to get her and get her to
Right.
deposit here, and maybe able to make like a financial aid offer here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's a good point. You are still recruiting during that spring of senior
there
year,
is,
but
but
it's the
we're
kids that have
down
already
to a few
accepted.
kids
Right.
right
Yeah, yeah,
now.
yeah, 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 yeah. Right, right, right,
Yeah,
right, right.
yeah.
I tell
But
you,
with that said, the calendar is a lot different than
yeah,
when I was at St. Francis, Central Michigan, or
yeah.
University of Detroit.
I could see that being frustrating because, like I said, I know some kids call you late, and you're just like, man, I wish we could, buddy, but it's too
Oh,
late. But it
that's
but it
what
does
is frustrating is when a kid was maybe an average to good athlete in the fall, and we weren't
senior
all that
year.
excited about them or
Hmm.
her, and all of a sudden, mid-May to June, they
Yeah,
start popping.
right,
Oh man,
right.
we had that kid here.
Yeah, yeah. But I
Yeah.
can also see it being a little freeing of like, okay, this is kind of my end date. Now I get to work on the next year.
Well, that's
But
the
you also
thing.
have to be much better at identifying sophomore and junior talent as well.
We do need to do that,
Hmm.
but also the good news is we can throw hard deadlines at kids too.
Hmm. Hmm.
And sometimes that helps.
100%. Absolutely.
A lot of other schools, they don't really give a hard deadline.
Hmm.
We have to
Yeah.
when we make a slot offer for admissions and
Yeah. Yeah.
that we have to throw a hard deadline. So
Yeah. That makes sense.
usually when we make an offer, we give them, you know, a week or two to decide, and
Hmm.
if they turn us down, we move on.
Yeah.
Or we're not waiting for a month to 6 weeks at all. That's
Right. Right. Kevin, we're near the end of our time.
You're right. That did go by fast.
I told you there's two things. We'll wait until let's see if you do it after we hit stop here in a little bit. But number one is always, boy, this goes a lot faster than I thought, and I hope that happens for our listeners too. I always tell people this is a hard podcast to listen to. I get it; it's close to 2 hours.
Unless you're a track
But
geek like we are.
yeah, let me tell you what. Our numbers tell us that there's still a lot of people that are really
Okay, there's a lot
interested
of
in
people
the
like us
whole
out
journey. Absolutely. I ain't doing this for an audience of two, buddy. Trust me. Thousands, thousands, thousands. And I'm blessed that each and every one of them choose to hear our track coaches around the country. So, my last question, Kevin, as we wrap up here is you've done 25 years there at Bucknell. You seem to be as excited today as maybe you were in day one. What in the world, as you start looking to the future and you get to define that, whether it's the 2026 season, 2030 season, etc., what's got you excited about the future of Bucknell track and field cross country?
Well, I just love the sport. Obviously, it was funny. We had a decathlon that went through Monday just last week at our outdoor classic, and it was just a nice day. And normally I would be in the office on Monday morning, but I'm just watching this multi, and I commented to some coaches. I said things could be worse. We could be in the office right now. Here we are at a track meet.
Pretty good
So
Monday.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just I love all the different directions as coaches
Hmm.
that we can go, from an administrative part to the coaching part to building the relationships to putting fires out, and we do it all.
Right.
And we're never bored. There's you know the days every day is a little bit different, and of course there's some ups and downs. Of course there's some drama. Of course there's some things where we have to put a fire out, which isn't fun, or things like that. But overall, it's a very exciting lifestyle, very exciting job. I'm very passionate about the sport, but I also just love educating the students.
Yeah.
The student athlete welfare is a huge part of our job, and I want our kids to have a very good experience, from an academic side to an athletic side to a social side.
Right.
That's important to us. And our retention rate is extremely high here. I don't really deal with the transfer portal hardly at all. If I do, it's usually for a graduate who's looking to go to grad school, who might
Right.
have a year of eligibility.
Right.
And we don't have many graduate programs at Bucknell. So I have kids all over the country at different schools right now
Hmm.
in graduate school doing fifth years, and I encourage that. And Bucknell is not really an option for most of them, because we only have like 2 or 3 graduate programs
Right.
here. So I just love every aspect about Bucknell, but especially the student athlete welfare. And I have fun. I like to say we have a lot of structure, but we're laid back. I'm not a yeller, and I don't pressure kids at all. I want the kids to have a good experience. I want track and field practice to be the best part of their day. I really do. And our retention rate, once again, is we don't have many kids that quit the team.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wish we did, but we don't, and we don't pressure kids and at all.
Yeah.
We have great students here. Our team GPAs are extremely high. I don't
Yeah.
have to, every now and then we have a few kids where we have to worry about eligibility, but not near as often I had at some of the other institutions
Right.
that I've been at. And so I decided, 15, 20 years ago that I was going to retire at Bucknell. I have not updated my resume whatsoever. I don't know when retirement's going to
I was gonna
be.
say not for a while though, right?
Could be a year, could be
Okay.
2, could be 3.
All right.
It all depends on things. I still have
Yeah.
a daughter in college
Yeah, that's right.
right now. I feel good.
Good.
Sometimes, I notice climbing the bleachers at Bucknell to the press box is not as
Keeps
easy as it
keeps getting
was
longer.
5 years ago. Another thing I've noticed is after meets, I used to enjoy the camaraderie with other coaches, like at these 2 or 3 day meets. I used to enjoy meeting up at restaurants and having a drink, and
Right.
that's a lot tougher now. And
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
tired, after these two or
Yeah.
three day meets, I'm tired.
Yeah.
So the time will come. I
Yep.
can't coach forever.
That's
Uh,
right.
I also don't want to be one of those coaches that stays too long.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm out there. I don't want to be that coach.
Yeah.
I think from a financial standpoint, anywhere from 1 to 2, maybe 3 at the most.
Yeah.
There's I'm 65, or I'm sorry, I'm 64. I'll
Hmm.
be 65 in December. The average age of retirement at Bucknell is 65. So who knows? It might be next year, it might be a year later. But I can't coach here forever.
Yeah.
And so we'll see what happens in the next year or two.
I had a conversation with a now former college track coach who's in the financial advising world, and called me up to talk about some coaches and things like that. Not specifics, but the coaching profession. And he said, I want to help coaches coach at an age of your age and stage, Kevin, because they want to, not because they have to, meaning
Right.
financially, like I can't retire, guys.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I love that and bless that for all of our coaches. When we're recording this, one of my dear friends and another legend just announced his retirement in McBurn over in Wisconsin,
I
and
saw
I
that. Yeah.
love
I
that.
met him when he was at Iona.
Yeah,
Done
what
a
a I mean,
wonderful job at Wisconsin.
in one of the most fantastic people I've ever met. I love Mick. He's just an
Sure.
amazing to get to know his wife and stuff through different projects. I love the Byrne family. So super happy for him. And you know what, Kevin, one day I'm going to be happy for you when you go out the way you want to go out. And what's interesting. I'm going to wrap it up with this, Kevin. We'll hear this a lot from high school coaches and even college coaches and things like that when they advise a kid about picking a school. And they'll say a lot of things about, pick a school that even if the coach wasn't there, which, okay, but
Sure.
we all know we're picking a coach here. Let's be real. But what struck me there was like, I think I have a freshman and a sixth grader. So I think about college at some point here sooner than later. And I think about, boy, I'd really like a coach who, my son's name is Troy. I'd really like a coach who cares about Troy and not his PR. I want you to care about his PR in the sense of like help him improve, but not that's his identity. His identity is his name, who he is first and foremost. And the way
Sure.
you talked about your athletes there, I know you want success and you've had and you will continue to have a lot of success. Certainly today, we could talk a lot about just your javelin thrower alone, and your throws coach doing a great job there. You guys have the number one javelin thrower in the stinking world as we record this. So
Yes.
obviously you're improving people and developing people, but boy, it is more important, I think, that who Timmy and Tommy and Sally and Cindy, who they are as people, and the holistic approach academically, athletically, and socially. I think we coaches like to kind of just like, oh yeah, but that is important. That is a part
Very
of
important. Yeah.
who an 18 to 22-year-old is, man. So I'm just impressed with that, Kevin. And boy, if you'll retire by the time my kid goes to college, but and you don't coach bass fishing. That's what my son's going to do. He's not into track at all.
We have
But
one of our custodians is a professional fisherman here.
is that right? Oh
Yes,
boy,
yes. He
my
actually
son is addicted.
does some coaching
That's
on
awesome.
fishing.
I
Yes.
love that. I love that. Kevin, my friend, thank you so much, man. The most valuable thing that you can give me is time. I know you're busy. You're a head coach, man. You got stuff to do. You got practice. You got another meet to go to. You got a lot of stuff to do. So I'm so grateful for your time today. Your openness and authenticity is awesome, man. I think that's going to help a lot of people who are listening to your journey as well. And just really, really grateful for you, my friend.
All right. I appreciate you having me, Mike. This has been a lot of fun. You're right. It didn't seem like it lasted as long as it did. We've been on for 2 hours and 5 minutes,
Yeah,
and
buddy.
feels like it was 45 minutes. So
Awesome.
it's a
That's
lot
a
of fun.
big
I love
compliment.
talking track and field, and
Absolutely.
sounds like you love it too. And It's worked out really well. Thanks for inviting me.
Awesome. Thank you for your trust, for sharing your journey in this great profession. Guys and gals, thank you so much for being here today. I love just the different avenues. I love that, I love when a young kid, a 16, 17-year-old kid knows they want to be a track coach one day. That's precious. I love when a guy grows into it and sees what's been in front of him the whole time, these coaches, these mentors that have been with him, and he realizes, wait a minute, I want that impact on young people as well. And so I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that Kevin was not a good mechanical engineering student, honestly, because he got to impact way more young
I
people
do nothing.
positively. Yeah. So grateful. So thanks again for pressing play today. Join us next week. We'll do it all over again. Thanks, guys.
All right, you got it.